There it is, StreamYard. We are live, and this is Kicking It with Andy. We're going to have John Myers join us tonight, and it's going to be a blast. So make sure you guys don't forget to enter the giveaway at kicker.com/umweekly, and I will see you guys in 3 minutes. Let's kick this thing off.
Let's get it.
With Andy, kicking it with Andy, kicking it with Andy.
Uh-oh.
Kicking it with Andy, kicking it with Andy, kicking it with Andy.
Okay. I see what we're doing. Kicking it with Andy, right? You know what that means. Livin Loud. Hey, yo, we kicking it with Andy at the house. He's coming to you live from the casting couch. He's a kicker freak. Hey, yo, what you think? So grab a seat and get your favorite drink. Don't go nowhere, you'll be glad you waited. Andy content comes highly rated. He got more hits than a Brooklyn mobster, doing hair tricks in the Cookie Monster. Straight give you goosebumps like you ticklish. Hey yo, rest in peace to Chris the Fish. So get your popcorn, Andy's going live, but the show don't start till Deviant arrives. What?
John K. rolled up to learn some sound effects. Met some good peeps, now we chillin', relax. The after show is lit, yo, check the live chat. And in the clips, you wanna try that. Kicking it with Andy is such a dope show. He stays super positive and a super chill bro. Making us laugh with his McGill memes. Quality content in all of his streams. Why does Cookie Monster bang harder than a wall? Cause he was the big brand name that started it all. Kick a bass so low that it's messing with your psyche. Y'all running Sketcher while my homie running Nike. My homie running Nike. My homie running Nike. My homie running Nike.
Hey yo, Johnny, have a seat, relax. We got this next one. Yeah. Hey yo, check me out. Third verse like that, we say the best for last. Drop a super chat to get your questions asked. 5K subs, yo, he gon' hit. Got a L7X and a Recone Kit. Tuesday and Friday, yo, we on the set. Unless he get that Patreon check, go ahead, subscribe, and he's on the mic. If you gotta run by, please hit the like. Solo and Wiz got that fish tank filled, but is he ever gonna finish that Walmart build? Ain't got a witness, so we'll never know. That was 3 minutes, now enjoy the show. Let's go.
My homie running Nike.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you guys. It's going to be awesome.
Hey, yo, Andy. We love you, boy. Keep doing your thing, King. You got this.
My homie running Nike.
I just had to figure out where that was coming from, because I mean, how cool! I mean, you know, what a staple, what a a calling card. Basically, everybody knows what the Cookie Monster is now.
Absolutely. And we're live.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you for joining me, John. And if you guys are sleeping under a rug, this is John Myers that works at Kicker. And such a blessing.
That's a nice plug you did on the Mustang there. Thank you.
You know, I like blue too, John, and your Mustang rocks with all the Kicker comp cues and just IQ amplifiers. You're going to have to tell everybody what you got going in that car I heard it. It sounds awesome.
It's actually pretty crazy. It's started out, you know, I'm not a huge SPL guy, and I'm not an ultra SQ guy. I do it because it's fun and it sounds good. So never put it in competitions, never put a meter on it, but it does. It rocks. It pounds pretty good. Got 2 Q-Class 10-inch L7s with an IQ 1001 on each one of them. And then I've got 2 IQ 1005s. One of them's bridged into 3 channels. Ooh. And the bridge part runs the 6.5s in the doors, and one of the subsections run the left mid bass. The other IQ 1005 runs the right mid bass, the upper high tweeters and the pillars, and in case I ever need it, the rear fill, which seldom ever gets used. But it's fun.
But there, just in case, that's crazy that you have that many channels just so that you have all that kind of control.
That and power. I mean, that's what I liked about it. I love taking the 5 channels and bridging them into a 3 channel. You know, even if, you know, in trucks especially, we've got a good set of components and kick panels, or, you know, front and the sub. I mean, that's really all you need for really good sound. I mean, people keep putting speakers in the rear of vehicles, and, you know, we've told ourselves over the years, you want the same sound all the way around you. Well, if you think about it, that's not correct. There's no other environment in the universe that's that way. You go to a concert, the performers are in front of you. They're not in front of you and behind you. So I'm not a huge fan of, you know, a lot of power, a lot on the rear speakers, or a lot of rear fill. But it's all personal choice, as we were talking about earlier. It's whatever you guys like.
I know. I feel like it depends kind of what you're listening to, what kind of system it really is. Sometimes you just need more sound, so you don't really care where it's coming from. You know, just make it sound balanced. But right, in the SQ world, rear fill is a well-debated topic. Do you need it or not? You know,
it's personal choice. There is no right or wrong.
Yes. No. You're absolutely right. And I feel like we could talk about SQ tonight. And if you guys have any, you know, questions for John, just type a Q so I can see it, and either Johnny5 or Cookie Monster here will save your comments so we can throw them up. We'll go through those starred comments while we can.
So it's whatever you guys want. We're here to have fun, and that's the whole name of this game.
Absolutely. And give stuff away, because thank you to your company, KICKER. Man, I still can't get over that, you know, you guys do the Unmasked show every other week, and then I do this, and still give away your guys' prizes. And it's just, you know, it's not humbling, you know, it is, but it's such an honor. And these guys that watch, I think, are at least half the reason. You know, these guys are awesome.
It's a well-earned honor on your part, and, you know, we're honored to have you, you know, as such a good follower. So it goes both ways. I mean, it's to me, I've mentioned that, you know, several times. People, you know, I just, you know, it's so odd, or, you know, just it's not odd. It's just humbling to think you work for a company that people like you that don't even work for the company put so much time and energy and stuff just because you love it. And that says a lot about the company and the people and the products. I mean, you don't hear that with really too many other brands, at least not to the level that, you know, you're throwing it out there.
Right. No, you're right. And I don't know if it was just because of the square subs. I mean, black and yellow, it's kind of a thing up here in the Yinzer area too, but it's just, the more I learned what you guys are, the more it made it even stronger of a passion. I know there's a lot of guys out there like me too that are watching now they love KICKER. They love the stuff about it. And, you know, behind the scenes stuff of Steve Irby and his beliefs and just the whole company, what you guys do, it's pretty crazy. And what you do for KICKER is pretty much tell people more about KICKER, teach them. What's your average day at KICKER, you know, usually entail?
There really is no average day. I mean, I sometimes think back, and I've been so busy for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I can't think of anything specific that I really accomplished, but I know I was busy doing something. So, yeah. It was, today was kind of fun. I spent about 4 hours designing some test enclosures and putting together a parts list and ordering gear for it that we've got to have done pretty much by Friday of next week. And I'm flying to Nashville tomorrow. I'll be out until 7 night. So Jacob and I are going to be thrashing on some enclosures. Got to build 6 of them.
That's awesome. So flying out to Nashville, I know when I asked you last minute Friday, hey, do you want to join me on Tuesday? Our guy John here literally moved his flight back a day so he could join us tonight. So smash the like for John for just being awesome friend and,
I
you
wouldn't
know,
have done
coming
that if
on with
you
us
weren't
tonight.
worth it.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and
yeah.
all the viewers and all of our friends out there. So
Absolutely, man. You know, it's like you do it because you love it. You know, we do it because we get paid, but also we do it for the people that are watching us. And you do the Unmasked show more often than a lot of the guys that are hosting. I mean, you and Aaron kind of, you know, trade off back and forth, and but it's just like, you know, that's I feel like that's your show, you know, kind of thing. It's like you see John there all the time, and kudos to you, man, for just keep doing that. I know it's not the easiest being on camera in that studio. It's a little different. It's a little different.
I tell you, I actually have more fun doing this with you because, you know, I'm not the one in charge. You're the one responsible.
You know,
for
I think what the real is, you don't have Ernie yelling at you in the background. You know?
That's almost kind of fun. I yell back at him. But,
Yeah,
you know,
you have to.
taking over the show, I mean, it was nothing that I planned on or, you know, really ever thought I'd be doing. And it was weird. You know, you talk about, you know, Kip pretty much pioneered this whole thing and did such an amazing job. I mean, not only are those like just impossible shoes to follow, but it's almost like dating your best friend's girlfriend. You know, you almost feel guilty.
Yeah. I can imagine, and you know, it's that's an elephant in the room, and you know, I'm just happy that you guys were able to, you know, get in the driver's seat and keep the car going down the road, and you guys haven't looked back since, you know, and the viewership has been there, and shows have been great.
Interactive, and you know, we can help people learn, and you know, we learn from everyone out there too. One of the reasons I like going doing the shows and events, one of the reasons I travel and go out and train dealers and do the events is I don't on a day-to-day basis talk to, you know, the consumers, you guys out there. You know, I feel like sometimes I lose touch with, you know, our consumers and what they want. So the more I can interact with you guys, just, I mean, not for the whole, you know, hey, I'm cool and I want to be, you know, in the middle of everybody. It's like, I want to learn what you guys need and, you know, what I can do to help. So.
Right. No, absolutely.
It does look like you got the usual host of
I know, you know,
right?
I'm used to reading all the comments, doing this, but I'm listening to what you're saying. But yeah, these guys are awesome, and you always call them out. You know, Ashley, Larry, Andy, John, how you doing tonight? Thank you for tuning in.
How is Ashy doing? He's had some health issues, so hopefully he's, you know, pulling through that. He's gonna be back 100% soon. But
I know that's
our prayers are with you there, Ashy. Take care of yourself.
That's really like the craziest thing with all of this stuff. You know, we all deal with you know, dramas in our life, health issues, finances, whatever. But we can all come together and, you know, just talk about car audio, kicker, car, you know, whatever, bass stuff that makes you forget a little bit of your problems. You know, it helps.
You know, Mike Craner's had some issues too. He's been kind of down and out. So, you
know Big Bass said he had,
and they're still such, you know, dedicated followers. It's really quite an honor to have you guys, you know, hanging out with us and, you know, just being here.
Absolutely. I know Mike Craner's got a nice kicker system, like 6 L715s. I think he wants to throw some L7Xs in there.
It's pretty brutal. I've been in that thing.
How does it sound? Is it loud? Yeah, loud. Yeah, it looks loud. It does.
And it is.
Got a few starred comments. Thank you for throwing those up, J-Dub. Just kidding. Question from LLwA. Is 200 watts acceptable for a KS6x9 run active with proper settings? You want to take that one, John?
Yeah, in fact, it's funny you ask that, and I'm probably going to open up a can of worms here, but I have exactly that in the doors of my Dodge truck, and I've got IQ 1005 bridged on those in just the doors. I'm running 300 a channel to just the 6x9s in the doors, and, you know, if you guys know me, I like it loud. I play them for what they're worth. And if it's set up properly, you know what to listen for. You know when you're, you know, the mechanical limits of the speaker, or the, you know, electrical limits of the amplifier, you're never going to have a problem. So
yeah,
you know, it absolutely pounds in that truck. I've had people ask me if I've got 12s in the back. It's like, right now you're just listening to the 6x9s. I mean, you can get some amazing bass out of 6x9s, and it just takes preparation. I mean, it takes, you know, obviously the proper power, proper crossovers, but mounting is really critical. And when you're talking doors are not really, you know, the best place to mount speakers. They're not very well reinforced. They're not sealed very well. You know, they're not designed for good sound. But, you know, with plenty of sound damping material and, you know, proper placement of speakers and power, you can make them sound pretty incredible.
Right, just the vehicle itself, the car is not an ideal area for sound. You know, that's why, I don't know, some say home audio can be easier in some aspects with that, but absolutely. And I'm the same way. I like a lot of power rather than not enough because, you know, one, I just want to get what the equipment can do and not have to worry about, you know, clipping per se as much with distortion. But again, with KICKER products, at least as of late, I noticed you guys, at least, I don't know, my older KSs didn't have it, or I think they might have been DSs, I don't know, but they were older, and the tweeter would go, you know, on a 3.5 or something. And I know that you guys revamped them recently, maybe, I don't know, within the 10 years or so, and you can't really blow those tweeters so much that there's like a resistor in there or something.
Yeah,
so even if you put too much power,
more difficult, but you know, if you're a real knucklehead, you can do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's dummy proof, just not idiot proof. Yeah.
Yeah, you tell them, hey, you can't blow these. They will find a way to do it. I promise you. I've seen them do it.
Yeah.
What it is, it's a variable resistor that as it gets more, you know, power going through it, it heats up and increases the resistance. So it starts limiting the power from the tweeter. And it's actually kind of a cool little device. And, you know, they're usually about the diameter of your fingernail. And ours are kind of, you know, orange in color, but they're great. They're called poly switch, and you know, what they'll do is, you know, as soon as they cool off, they'll start letting the power back through. So if you've ever got the problem that, you know, hey, I've been cranking on it, my tweeter's cut out, or you know, they get real quiet, and then you turn it down, they start coming back up. That's the problem. You're basically driving, you know, overdriving the tweeters with too much distortion and clipping. So those little poly switches are there to prevent that, because, you know, with an amplifier, when it heats up and shuts off, hopefully if it's done right, it'll come back on in a few minutes. But if your tweeters or your speakers heat up and shut off, it's pretty much R&R, remove and replace.
Done and done. You know, I think that's the coolest thing. And I feel with tuning of like just 9 chances out of 10, everybody's trying to get the most out of their system, so they're pushing a little bit too hard. And you know, it's hard. I know you could probably hear it with a trained ear, but it's harder to hear distortion per se at like those high frequencies, what a tweeter does, because you're just trying to get the most out of it. Your bass is loud, and it just kind of everything mushes together. So it's nice how that just rears down, goes into a limp / protect mode in a way, but just by, you know, heat, and saves your tweeter. And you can tell, it's like you're playing it and it's like, man, it just doesn't sound as crystal clear. What's up? Turn the volume down, and then it gets crystal clear again. It's like, I was pushing it too hard. Let me go into my EQ settings, pull that down so I can go at that volume without them rearing down. I think it's really awesome.
It's amazing how many people don't realize that that's what's going on. And when we first started doing this, you know, we were obviously, before that, we get a lot of speakers back with blown tweeters for warranty. And we started doing this, and over the years, we kept seeing them come back with no problems found, you know, and people just didn't realize that, hey, it's doing its job. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to, you know, protecting the speaker. There's nothing wrong with it because the tweeter's cut out. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to. Kind of like a rev limiter on a car, you know.
I love it. I
love it. Rev it up there a few times, but you don't want to rev it up there and leave it.
No. When did you guys start implementing that?
Oh, it's got to be 15 years ago.
15
now,
years.
I will tell you, in the early, the first separates back in '86, when Steve introduced them with the passive crossovers, they had basically like a GM style light bulb, which kind of did the same thing. They pulled the DC away from the tweeter. And, you know, a couple problems with that. One, people think, you know, flashing lights are cool, so they turn it up, so they did that. Kind of like, you know, like feeding
go with my music. Yeah.
And the other problem is the people that did that over a consistent amount of time, these were encapsulated in resin, like a fiberglass resin. And, you know, what happens when you heat something up, you know, things start to expand. And when they don't expand, they get to a certain point, they just kind of explode.
Oh, yeah. That happens.
So, we've seen many of those that come back, you know, split open or, you know, cracked. And, you know, it's like, yep, you were overdriving it. But I literally had a guy to show one time, you know, he's like, hey, you guys used to make those speakers that flash to the music. I love that. It's like, yeah, well, that really wasn't the best thing. But Okay.
That's funny. I love hearing those kind of old stories of just like learning and trying different stuff, and just hearing those people's feedbacks too from what you hear from back then. That's just crazy. And I feel like you guys are always innovating, always like a step ahead of everybody else. Not in every aspect, but in a lot. It's really cool what you guys do.
Except Mr. E100's asked me to rig the contest for him.
We usually normally do that, but since he's asking, I'm sure we can.
I don't rig against him. No,
yeah,
we definitely none of these are rigged. I know sometimes it seems like it, but it's kind of the luck of the draw. But it's always fun, and that just keeps the challenge up there. I mean, how many times have you guys personally won the lottery? I mean,
right. The odds are not in your favor to begin with, but if you tune in every Tuesday, your odds do go up.
Yeah, the odds that you're going to get hit and killed on the way to buying your lottery tickets are greater than actually winning the lottery.
I was learning about ratios the other night, and yeah, it makes sense. Probably more in common than getting bit by a shark too. more possible. Let's see if we got another question. Thank you, Johnny 5, for throwing us up. Dub Team question: has Mr. Myers sat in Steve Barber's car yet? His thoughts on it. And that Steve Barber car, that's got how many L7X 12s, 15s in there? Is that like 9?
It's got a ton. And honestly, I will have to say no, I haven't. Last time I heard that was in, where were we? Up in Vegas, north of Vegas. I forgot when we did one of the SPL competitions up there at the hotel. I can't even remember the name of the town. It wasn't Pahrump.
Sharting on him show. Yeah, one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first time I heard it, when he had all the KMTC 11s on the roof. And it was pretty impressive then. And now it's
when he had that was only the L715s he had then.
Yeah,
and those KMC 10s. I like those Marine tower speakers, man. Those look loud. Like, I know he's got the STs now, but I think I like those better for the outside of my car.
Those things sound great. It's really scary to think. When we first introduced the KMTC 11s, they were $1,859 a pair. For a pair, almost $2,000 for a pair. And
I know, I've seen them.
They sell out. Now, they're not that expensive right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand, the way Steve, when he designs products, obviously when you introduce a product, you got to pay for the tooling, the marketing, the R&D. I mean, we had $500,000 in the L7X 12 before we ever produced one to sell. So $500,000 just in tooling. But
talk about putting some eggs in a basket. You know what I mean? It's a big decision on every product.
Yeah, and you got to do that, but you got to do the R&D behind it just to make sure that when the product is out there, it's tested, and that takes a while, and it takes a bunch of people to get that done and get it done right.
Yep. I've seen it, and I've heard how many revisions the L7X has had, because I'm always asking about that one. Hey, who isn't? And I can just imagine for every product. I know you guys did a show on just every step of whenever you guys are tooling those, of how many tooled products it takes to make one kicker product.
Yeah, like it's crazy. You don't think about that. And, that obviously, really dug down, but, we didn't really get into the weeds. I mean, you can go clear back to, what it takes to make the voice coil wire, the way we didn't even get that far into it, actually making of the tools that make the product. There's so much that goes into that stuff, and sometimes we just think, you should be able to do this in 3 months, and it's really not that way. It really takes a lot longer. And if you're a company like we are, that you're designing everything literally in-house, you own the tools for almost everything you make. I mean, if you make one modification, you got to go back and make a whole new tool, throw the other one away if it can't be modified, and it takes a while. And sometimes you don't know till you get to the very end.
Right. It's like, man, we got to go right back to the drawing board, but not entirely, but still, the drawing board nonetheless, and we retweak every step. And I feel like that's the same thing with like car audio when you're trying to make your system sound really good, or, make it an SPL thing. You change one thing, you're changing 3. And with a product, if you want to change one thing, you got to go backwards. You got to fix your foundation, you got to fix something else, and then your final product. And that's a lot of time, like you're saying. And I know you guys, man, you guys are thorough. You guys are thorough with your product, because you don't want people having issues with them. Who wants that?
it doesn't do anyone any good to just throw a cheap product out there just to get it out there and sell it and make a quick buck. You know,
Right.
you're not going to stay in business. I mean, we're going 52 years, you know, Steve's been running KICKER, so he's got to be doing something right. And I got to make a comment. Been kind of watching on the right over. I have more time to watch the comments when you're in charge and I'm not. So
I appreciate it, John. Thank you.
25 Hertz to Life is asking about my shirt. Well, I appreciate you guys noticing that. Today's the first day I wore it. I got this from a store in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Speakerworks. And Dave, the guy that owns the store, he's been a clips dealer for 54 years. He was an IASCA judge, and he's the one that restores all my old vintage hi-fi. I'm into 70s and 80s vintage stuff, and I buy gear from him, and sometimes give him stuff that I don't need. And he actually had these shirts there, so I actually bought that from him at Speakerworks in Tulsa. But I have seen these for sale elsewhere, but they're just kind of a fun shirt. I've actually seen them with LED meters as well, so I'll have to expand my collection and find one of those. Wear it the next time.
Big D's gonna want that T-shirt. He has an obsession with BU meters. I love it. I really do.
Yeah,
That's what I was asking him, guys, before the show started. Me and John were talking for like 15, 20 minutes. We already had a show going. You guys just missed it. But yes, yeah, that's an awesome shirt. It really is. And, to have somebody local to you that's, we all know car audio, but there's always going to be a guy that knows another area that you may not be a pro in, especially with fixing stuff too. It's nice to have a buddy. And my buddy Seth, he actually helps me recone kickers too. I'm going to learn. I just turn them into clocks instead. That's far as I got. And that's a process too. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
Salvaging that cone, man. You guys use a lot of glue, and it's good glue, so that thing does not come just apart right away. No. Let's go through another question. I got a few up here. Appreciate you starring these for me. This is perfect. What KICKER amp is used for 2 comp Qs? Thank you, Don D, for tuning in. And I feel like this is like a open-end question, and it really comes down to what ohm load. And it
comes down to what size and what box and what you're trying to get them to do. So that's one of the things I get frustrated. And I used to watch the forums a lot. It just sometimes it gets to me the point where I can't do it anymore because I really want to jump in there, but I don't want to start slinging dirt. But people say, hey, what's the best amp for this? And someone throws out hey, this is the amp you have to have. Well, with just asking what exactly, you don't know what they're going to use it for or how. I mean, you need this 5,000 watt amp. Well, you find out the guy's got a Zuzu Trooper with a 60 amp alternator on it, never replaced the battery. He's not going to be happy with it. So there's a lot more that goes into it. I'm a fan of more power than the speakers are rated. We started talking about that a little bit earlier because I'm running 300 watts to my 6x9s, but wattage to me is like horsepower. You can never have too much as long as you know how to use it and respect it. So, I mean, if you're talking comp Qs, I mean, why not put, if comp Q15s, why not put a, 1800 watt or a 1200 watt on each one of them? That's what I would do. I mean, you're never going to be disappointed with the right amount of power, but you get too small of an amp and you push it too hard and you're just asking for problems. You're asking to start replacing speakers, and that's not cheap and it's no fun.
No. And I feel like, it's just like matching woofers with amplifiers is the time-old question of what is the best way to do it, RMS percentage, all the power in the world, or just throttle them so they never can run into thermal, but then you're not getting all the performance out of the woofer. And I feel like that goes with like a lot of things, like you were saying about the horsepower. Same thing. You don't want to have, you can have 2,000 horsepower, but as long as you're easy on the throttle, you're not going to break your axle or something like that, or your drive shaft.
Well, it's just like anything else. You have 2,000 horsepower and you've got, some tiny little tires on the back. What good is it?
Right.
You pretty much wasted your money. You could have taken some money away from the, the power side and spent it on, better, tires or, better drivetrain. Everything's got to balance. It's got to work together. So many times in retail, when I was selling equipment, people come in and spend almost every penny they had buying an amplifier, and then they're scrimping, to find money for power wire. And it's like, take a step down in amplifier, just go to the next one down and spend that extra money on a good power kit. because, we call them accessories, but they're really not, because accessories are optional. Power wire, grounds, fuses, that is not optional. So we call them installation components. But, it's all part of the chain.
It really is. It really is. And, to answer the question, what is the best amp? I mean, I would say, if you know what size woofer you have and you look at the KICKER amps, most of your guys' amps are all 1 ohm stable for the subwoofers now. So, a dual 4 setup would be perfect. And depending 10, 12s or 15s, and I don't know, whatever else you guys come up with down the road, who knows? But still, the 10s are going to handle a little less power. Maybe you can get away with a CX1200 or still run the 1800. Or who knows? 215s run a Warhorse.
My 10s and the Mustang. So, on the flip side, depending on your requirements, I did an install completely opposite spectrum on a Jaguar, the XJ6, or the little 4-door Jaguars. And in the rear deck, I put a set of, all I had at the time were 8 ohm, 8-inch infinite baffle speakers that were free air speakers. And that's back when we had the impulse amplifiers. I had the 352XI, which was 35 watts a channel at 4 ohms.
Woo.
I had 8 ohm drivers. They were infinite baffle in the rear deck. So I was running literally 17.5 watts per 8-inch, but they were running at 8 ohms, so you had unbelievable control. That car sounded incredible. Wow. I mean, it didn't rattle the windows out, but the tightness, the smoothness, I mean, and of course the rear deck in that car is a very, very strong steel, just like putting speakers in the doors. I mean, it was very thick metal, so there's very little resonance. So you didn't lose any of the output due to, the panels absorbing it. But that car, for literally 17.5 watts per 8-inch woofer, I mean, it was killer. It sounded great.
Right. And when you say infinite baffle, what's up, Boomin? Whenever you say infinite baffle, I think SQ. I think of just clear sounding bass. And a lot of people probably wouldn't want that because they just want to be loud. They want the trunk rattling. They want,
that is the trail.
Yeah, but I think you could still do it. I've seen some pretty crazy infinite baffle systems that are just, there is no box, and it's just the whole car is the box, but the back door opens and there's your IB, it's one big port.
Yeah, exactly.
And guys doing 60s. So it can be SPL, but it's a little bit harder than you think.
Yeah, and the thing with infinite baffle, you can have a speaker in a sealed box and still be considered an infinite baffle. Basically, infinite baffle is isolating the front wave from the back, but if the box is so large that the enclosure has no effect on the output or the sound of the driver, technically it's an infinite baffle.
Wow. And I've heard about that. When the VAS is like 10 times, or the box is 10 times bigger than the VAS of what the driver or something like that, and it's just, that's it. There's no compression being made with the enclosure. It's acting as baffle.
I mean, it literally is the best sounding enclosure. Technically, it's no enclosure, but it's the smoothest roll off because you're just listening to the natural response of the driver. Nothing is changing the sound, at all.
Right, and that's what enclosures do is almost tune. Not really tune the driver, but in a sense, that's why you have tuning frequency with a ported enclosure. You still have a resonant frequency for sealed, and those all differ by the driver you put in there and its parameters. But right, you're kind of emphasizing on that graph of your 20 to 80 hertz of whatever the subwoofer does, and that impedance rise, box rise we love to call it. It kind of helps dictate that on top of what the driver does, and when you don't have anything emphasizing it, it's just gonna act like it would be infinite baffle, and that's pretty cool. It's cool how you mention that and bring that up. I didn't even think of that, but it makes sense. It really does. So build the box big as you can, right, John?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of big sealed boxes with a ton of power.
Hey, I love sealed. I really do. People they love ported, and it can sound good too, they all can sound good within reason, but sealed, it's like, I don't know, you get a little bit of a different sound. I don't know, just in my experience with the products that I've used with them, and it's like, man, I like this I like this, you know, and it works.
To get a little technical with it, you know, the sealed box will roll off the low end at 12 dB per octave, or a ported box rolls off at 24, rolls off twice as quick, but it's got a little bit of bump before it starts rolling off. So technically, a sealed box will play louder at a lower frequency than a ported box, but some people just like that extra punch. What else happens with the ported box, why they're not quite as tight, and the bigger the ported box, the less tight the bass becomes, is that back wave travels through the enclosure, and then it gets to the port, which slows it down again. It aligns it with the front wave, but it might be a couple wavelengths behind. So, you know, it's actually lagging the rest of the music. So,
And it almost colors it, and you get that port delay.
But people like that. Some people like that low rolling bass. And, you know, J-Mob was trying to make me put my foot in my mouth here a little bit ago, but asking about premium marine stuff. And who says we got premium marine coming into?
I know. I seen that. I threw it up. I don't know, man. You know, I feel like with
we're
any
always
products,
working on something. You guys know that. I mean, I love. I mean, I absolutely once a week, and sometimes, you know, a couple times a week, I go down. I walk through the acoustic labs and go talk with. I spent about an hour talking with, you know, Alan, our speaker engineer today, and literally talking about sealed and ported boxes on 6x9s for the enclosures that I've got to build next week. But, you know, there's so much cool stuff coming down the line. I wish I could tell you guys more, but it's so exciting.
You know, I hear from you guys, and you're, like you said, you're always working on something. And averagely, what is like the time frame of just a brand new product from start to finish? Years, months, weeks?
It's years. I mean, literally, 2 years is average.
2 years.
You know, if it's just you know, an upgrade or, you know, a refresh, or, you know, and we'll constantly do that. You know, you see the speaker, you know, designator front, like a 44, 48, or, you know, 51. You know, that designates the year that driver was released. Yes. You know, we're constantly upgrading them, you know, and they may be small little changes. And, you know, sometimes we'll throw some cosmetic changes in there just to, you know, get the excitement up. But we're always making the products better. In fact, we do a lot of what we call running changes. And that happens a lot with amplifiers too, where if we start seeing failures, say one small failure, and to us, give me an example, the CXA amplifiers, we just got reports out of all the CXA amplifiers that we've sold, which is, I mean, literally, I think hundreds of thousands. Our defective rate is less than 2% actually defective. So that's 2 per 100. And you have to remember that, you know, amplifiers are being installed by people that may or may not be trained. You don't know what they're putting them in, what type of vehicle, what type of electrical system, how they're setting them up, how they're tuning them, how they're running them. So that says a lot with, you know, what our engineers doing. They're constantly, you know, tweaking the products to make them better. And, you know, it's just like the forced air cooling in the back of the drivers. That was a running change. We introduced that for the first time in the Comp RT, and it's trickled its way down through the entire line. Now, we may not necessarily give it a whole new, you know, number, because, you know, if it's just one small change, or, you know, one change like that, it doesn't warrant, you know, redoing the entire speaker, you know, coming out with a new part number. We're just going to make it a little bit better. So, you know, I love people. I always go to do trainings. I'll ask, you know, what's the best amplifier in the world ever? You know, if you could have any amplifier, you know, any model, any year ever, what would you have? And it's funny to listen to some of the people that go back to the old ZRs, the old Punch, the old, you know, PPI Art Series. And, you know, I appreciate that, but it's like, you guys don't think we've had any better technology, you know, than we had 25, 30 years ago. But hey, it's all personal choice. There's no right or wrong. I mean, that was some great gear. But, you know,
I think it's nostalgia and placebo.
Oh, yeah.
With that. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is better. You know, they don't make anything good nowadays. Like, man, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
You know, I'm guilty of that when it comes to cars. It's like, I like the older cars, the way they were built, and not, you know, super old, because then you have to put a lot of money into them to fix them. But
right. Yeah, you know, money pits, but they look nice and shiny going down the street. That's all that matters. Yeah. I like how you guys, whenever you mentioned the forced air cooling with the Comp RT, that it started with that, and then you moved it to other products and stuff. And I know from a designer aspect that forced air cooling isn't like, let's just put holes in it and it's forced air cooling. Like there's a lot that goes into the size, diameter, just like an enclosure of a port. You know, it's the same kind of concept.
You talk with, Chance and Daniel, the guys that actually do the mechanical engineer ends of that. And, they experiment with the diameter, the number, the placement, the angle that they're drilled in. I mean, they go through and test everything and, see what actually works the best. Obviously, if something, is really, really, really expensive and it just got a marginal improvement, that'll never make the cut because it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
But those guys, I mean, they're the masters at, making sure that things are designed and work the way they're supposed to. And the funny thing to me is, you see some of these speakers out there, not bagging on any other manufacturers, but they do the pole piece vent and that looks like forced air cooling. And it's like, those don't work together at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, just
each other.
Putting holes in your box and saying that makes it louder,
Yeah, that's a vent.
And that's the thing too between the old Solo X and the new one. The old one had that just big hole on the bottom and no pull venting, and now the new one has all pull venting and no big hole on the bottom. So it makes sense. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You got to have one or the other.
The whole vent was really put in place to let the pressure out from underneath the dust cap. So if you think about, look at a cutaway of a speaker, as that speaker, is drawn back into the basket, that's an area of high pressure. And you've seen speakers with the dust caps blown off. Well, that's pretty much what happened. So Steve, experimented with, putting a vent down the center, which took that pressure away, but it did something else. It gave you smoother, deeper, cleaner bass with less power because you're not trying to compress that air and fighting that. And to go even farther into that, if you remember, the older speakers had anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 5/8 diameter vent in the back. And I've seen speakers out there with 2 or 3 inch diameter vents and huge voice coils.
Huge.
But, and they call that a cooling vent. It really wasn't there for cooling. It was there to let pressure out because not enough air is really moving in and out and changing places to really cool it. But what we did find, if you make that vent bigger, you actually take mass away from the pole piece, and that is the first place the heat gets drawn away from the voice coil. So you've effectively reduced your cooling sink for your speaker by having a bigger hole in the back. So yeah, you can put a bigger hole in the back and you get worse cooling.
And I know you guys know a lot about motors and magnets and cooling and just all those kind of properties, even though, there's always that guy, I blew my kickers on whatever, there's always that, but I think that's a different subject. But it's crazy how with your motors, you guys have like all one piece as the bottom plate, as the pull piece, just, to help with that heat transfer.
And that's called the unit plate.
That's crazy, and it makes sense. It makes sense.
We started doing that back in 1986 with the first, Comp A series. And it's just like anything else. When you take 2 pieces of material and you clamp them together, you glue them together or screw them together, you don't have as good of a heat transfer as you would if it was one solid piece of material. So yeah, by having that one solid forging, it was much better cooling. In fact, we had an issue with, some of our parts finding their way into other manufacturers' speakers. That's why if you look at the old Comp A series, a little bit down the line, they started stamping Stillwater designs right into the back plate of that speaker, so they couldn't be bogarted by somebody else and used in their products.
Well, now it's before, that everything always had a paper trail like it does now. They're like, oh yeah, here we go. That's crazy. I always thought you guys had that stamped in the back just because, it looks good. It looks legit. You see it on all the old ones and stuff, and who doesn't want to see a Stillwater design?
Steve's not, a big guy to be really flashy, and he's not there to, he wants things to look good and he wants them to perform. So to spend money to do something just, to say you did it, I mean, he'd rather put the money in, the performance of the product. So that was a very, deliberate move to make sure that, he protected, what he pioneered in those speakers.
Yep. That's just human nature. You got something good going on. Someone wants the piece of the pie too, and
that's kind of funny. That just led me into another subject, just another thing that popped in my head, talking about, leading people on. Years ago when we had, our stuff was all over the internet. I'm talking, 15, 20 years ago when you could buy, Kicker product everywhere. You get reps that would call up, I'm so mad, you can buy this all over the place. And I said, well, as a rep, which is worse, having a product that people will do anything to get, or having a product that nobody wants to buy? So you almost create your own, sore spot by making a product good. And, we had to basically eliminate a lot of that internet. We eliminated $13 million worth of internet dealers.
Wow.
Because it just, if, people start basically selling it for cost or nothing, then nobody's going to sell it. The product goes away. And you talk about the race to zero. Everything gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And, who wins in something like that? People say, the consumers, because they get it cheaper. And that's not really the case, because pretty soon the product gets so cheap that the manufacturers or the brand can't afford to make it and sell it anymore, because they're not making enough money to justify the cost of their overhead. So they quit selling it altogether. And then who wins then? Nobody does. So the race to zero, nobody wins, because everything just goes away. I mean, it's cheaper for a while, but eventually it isn't worth building anymore. You can't survive on it, so you move on to something else.
And even that with like sales, if you do too many, on sale now kind of deal, even if it's just everywhere, no one's going to buy the product until it's on sale, because they know it's going to happen a lot. Have one big sale, like maybe Black Friday or Christmas or something, like you guys kind of do, and then that's it. So it's kind of like, oh, you know what, I'm going to buy it because I don't know if I'm going to see this again, and that's it, rather than, we have a sale every month. I'll wait till next month and not buy it ever full price. So
my first job in retail, I was a senior in high school in Lincoln, Nebraska. I worked for a company called World Radio, and they had 26 stores at the time. And literally, it was once a month. We spent Sunday nights pulling all the sale tags off of the products and putting the new ones up, which was just a different name of the sale, but the same price. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like clockwork. Yeah, well, this, yellow tag comes down for a green one, but it's the same price. But I remember the assistant manager would spend, a couple hours just sitting there writing out all the sale tags by hand that we had to change. And it just, people catch on to that, And,
yeah.
And the weird thing is, being a sales trainer, a product trainer, you start to see things from a different angle. And, you talk about stores, and, if you guys are retailers, watching, if any of you guys are out there, you decide to have a sale on a product and you decide to make it 10% cheaper because you want to sell more. Well, if you only make 20% profit on that product, and you make it 10% cheaper, you've effectively robbed yourself of half of the profit. So now you have to sell twice as many of the same product to break even, and you're not going to sell twice as many.
No,
So
and there's that.
Marketing's weird.
And like how you guys always take care of everybody, even if it's their fault with the warranty, like it's not like pulling hairs, like, oh, send your ID and send what happened. Send us pictures of your power wire to make sure it's not your fault. Like you guys are no questions asked, warranty replacement. And there's a reason for that too, obviously, to take care of the customer. And the price kind of reflects that a little bit, because, whenever you buy something, you don't have to worry about, man, if I mess up and I blow this up by accident, if I get obviously a dud, they'll take care of me. But even if it's my fault, Kicker will take care of me and be like, hey, we'll help you out though next time, so this doesn't happen again on your next product. So
that's what we try to do. If we get someone that, consistently, if you get a consumer that consistently was sending in, bad speakers, we would call them and walk through what they were doing. And, we've really created our own monster, this whole industry, not just Kicker, but, blown speakers are almost 95% of the time operator error. But yet, they are warranted, because people underpower them, they abuse them, put them in the wrong boxes. And, But unless it's very blatant mechanical damage, I like the people that send speakers back in for warranty with a hole in the surround right next to the mounting hole. It's like, yeah, it came out of the box this way. It's like, yeah, probably.
I bet.
Yes, I've done it. I've slipped and wiped out a few speakers. I mean, you do enough speakers, it's going to happen.
I've seen, what was it, Derek, and then there was a guy in Kicker Club. He like not blew the coil, but the inside, the former triple joint area on the new Solo X, and it's like, man, what are you doing? You're pushing it way too hard, because I tested mine
running about 12,000 watts to it,
way too far, and they make noise, and that's still your fault, but Kicker will take care of you. That's the cool thing about it, because whenever you buy used, whenever you buy from maybe not the most popular website, and you buy it, and guess what, if it doesn't work out for you, you're kind of done. You call them and it just goes boop boop boop. No one's picking up, and that's it. It's chance you take sometimes. So you are paying for that. You're paying for the trust, the reliability, the warranty, and the good products.
And to answer Notorious's question, yes, they were limited run. Were.
Yeah, I know. And it makes sense though, because like the comp gold was just like a nod to the 50 years of Kicker being around. The OG gold letter, over here. And those things are awesome. I love the golds. And, people kept saying, what's the difference between the, and each Kicker level has a little bit of a difference of each one, but it's not like, oh man, this one is for this and this one's for that. They have small differences. So I feel like
the little niche.
Yeah. And the gold.
The 4 comp gold 10s right now. That's what you're coming through on my computer stereo here.
Yeah, I like them little 10s, man. I got one in my studio too. It's with the KB6000s for the the interior speakers, and it sounds good, man. It sounds good, and they're really efficient drivers. Like, they remind me of a kind of like a Kicker comp with just the efficiency. Like, it doesn't need much power to get loud. They got a 500 RMS tag on them, but like they only need like 200 watts, and they're moving. You know what I mean? And that's
I said with the run the 17 watts to the 8s. They will handle a lot more, and just like any speaker, it's got a maximum power rating. Run that much power to get them to sound good. That just means they will handle that. It's like tires. You get like a ZR rated tires rated to 156 miles an hour. Does that mean it doesn't work if you drive it at 60? No, it still works great. It just will go that fast. So you don't have to always have that power, but I'm still the king of, I'd rather have way too much power and not even question it.
Yeah, I'm the same way, other than a Warhorse 10K. I think it's a little bit too much, but, otherwise, yes. And it does come down to, your experience, and not even experience, but kind of just responsibility of what the equipment can do, and, not expecting more than what it can do. And sometimes it's maybe hard to hear the differences right away until you start smelling the smelly smell, and you're like, okay, went too far.
Sometimes alcohol is involved.
Yes, and that's very true. It's I think it makes your system quieter, so you have to turn it up. It's like we need the colorful clipping for that with the twisted tees. Repent or die.
Solo X8.
Cool.
Just wash one of the 10s in hot water.
Oh, so they are 100% fun.
No, they're paper cones. Don't wash them in water.
Yeah, not marine graded. But you know what's crazy? Every other Kicker really almost is marine graded, like, because they got that plastic like cone on the front of them. And you guys even have the L7S in the marine section, for subwoofers. Yeah.
So cast aluminum basket. I mean, it's all sealed on the front. The Santoprene, the polypropylene cone. So yeah, I mean, as long as you don't get water in the motor on them. I don't know if you guys been following on, I think it was the Instagram on the Kicker page. Jeff just released the new boat that he did. I think it's got 2 Solo X12s and vented enclosures on a boat.
Ooh. Is that the guy who got the big Kicker boat, Jeff?
Yes.
Yes.
And I've had him on the show before. I mean, the stuff he does out there is just amazing. Some of those boats that he builds, but he was saying that those 212s were louder than his 415s. He called me when he first got it powered up, and he was just, I cannot believe how much output these Solo X12s have.
They really are game changers. Like I joke around saying that they are, but they are, man. They move so much air. They don't need, once you break them in, you don't need a ton of power to get them puppies moving, and they just have so much bore and stroke, and they're square. And compared to like an L7S of the same size, I would say at least twice the potential just moving air possibilities. Like it's literally twice the X Max. So we'll go with that. I don't know.
Yeah, they are brutes. In fact, people are always wondering, and we always recommend ported enclosures for them, and that's kind of the staple. That's because they're meant for output. But Jacob and I did a stereo system for Sean Murder Nova from the Street Outlaws, and his pimpin' green wagon with the 26-inch gold wheels. And yes, that is real gold on that car. You guys have seen the pictures of it. But we did those subs in 2 1/4 cubic foot, those 12 sealed with a 2400.1 KX on those. And man, that thing sounded good. You talk about tight, clean, deep bass. I mean, those subs sounded incredible. I loved it.
Wow. I wouldn't mind trying them sealed. I really wouldn't.
I'd say go for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you're not going to get as much output with the same power, but they're going to play louder at the really low bass because they don't roll off as quick. But they sound so good in sealed enclosures. But they really were designed to be a high output driver. But hey, they do SQ too. Gary Biggs and his Recone in, I forgot what, 2001 won the IASC and USAC world champion sound quality with the original LLwA 18s in the back.
Wow.
So if you do it right,
yeah. I know. I always wanted to put one of mine in a sealed box. I just know it would sound phenomenal. I had it in like a small porta box with a small port tune, like normalish, but like low port area. So it almost kind of acted like a sealed box in a lot of aspects. Just with the hatchback, small area, and it was tight bass. I'm like, man, this has got some good response. It would probably do pretty well in a sealed box. Like you said, less output, but still. And even with the new L7X, it's still balanced. It's not just this thing that just moves air at we'll say below 30 hertz, because that thing moves, especially down there. And it can do so much more. And it's not going to win, quote, maybe every SQ competition it's in, but it still can be a balanced, well-sounding driver. And speaking of well-sounding drivers, we got a question here from Boomy Moon. Why were the Q class, the SQ class, L7s, why did they get discontinued when it seemed there was still strong demand for it, especially the L7 class 8s?
Well,
take the mic, John. This is a tough
salt into wounds, because I was not happy about that either. But it was weird. You think about what went on with the whole COVID thing. The factory that was building this for us, like I said, we don't own the factories that build them. We actually rent time for them to build our products. The factory that built those and all the Q class coaxes and components, they basically said, we can't get enough help. We're going to concentrate on home audio only. This is your last order. You're done.
Wow.
So it really caught us off guard. I mean, normally we've got a replacement ready to go, but they basically said, oh, well, this order you just put in, that's your last one. We're not going to make them anymore. We don't have the manpower. We're just not going to do it.
Wow.
So,
that's crazy. And I'm guessing they had all your tooling, all your just, everything of.
We own all that. I mean, it's still ours, but it's just like anybody else. It's like a mechanic. If you take parts to a mechanic to put on your car, they're usually not very happy about doing that. Same thing with the factories. They don't want to, grab a tool that someone else was using. They pretty much want to, they want to do their own thing, and start over. So.
Right, get their name on it. Yeah,
make a better product. So.
So there will be a new replacement just because of the last minute.
Out of the bag that we're always making something better, and sooner or later you're going to see a pretty really nice replacement for those.
Awesome, and I think that answers a lot of questions, because a lot of people have the L7Q before the LLwA came out again.
I have them.
You got them, and they were the top tier kicker, especially square woofer.
Yeah, they really were. Now, the big difference between them and the S is they had a heavier cone. So they had lower resonance. They didn't have quite as much output because it's a heavier cone, a little bit less efficiency, but they were tuned deeper and smoother. But if you wanted them to sound like an S, like an L7S, put them in a 10% smaller sealed box. That's going to bring that tuning up just a little bit to make them have a little bit more of that hard hit rather than that real deep, smooth, more accurate bass.
That makes sense with the heavier cone because, not all things equal, but in relatively speaking, it lowers the FS a little bit and makes it play lower like you're saying. So
an example of that are guitar strings. Take a bass guitar, it's got 4 strings. Well, the thickest, heaviest string plays the lowest note naturally. I mean, without any finger tuning. It's just the heavier something is, the lower the resonance.
That makes sense.
But the heavier it is, the more power it takes to move it. So it's that trade-off. There is no give and take.
Is that why it has a higher RMS coil to help combat that in a way?
Yeah, because you had to run more power to it, so you had to basically be able to handle the power.
Wow. See, I just learned something today. I tell these guys, I'm like, listen, you got to at least learn one new thing about car audio every week. You got to learn something, man.
It's just like passive radiators. You can tune a passive radiator lower by putting more weight on it, but then you have to run more power to the speaker to get the same output. You get to the point where you can't put enough power into that speaker to get the output because of all the weight in the passive, but you have a very small box. So it's always a trade-off, give and take every time.
Really is. And physics, they get in the way sometimes, but you know what? They're our best friends the other day,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, thank you for explaining that, John. You're super smart, man. I wonder how you got where you are. And you've been Kicker, 27 years now?
Coming up with 28 in October. But, I just, I love this. I always, in fact, I was watching videos on different, speaker building techniques, last week. I always like to learn, and, I don't know it all. I never will. I still learn myself and always ready to learn. And it's just, this is all I've done pretty much all my life. So I've had a really fun, interesting life, and learned from a lot of really smart people because I'm not that smart, and I learned it from them. It's not what you know, it's who you know and what they know.
Exactly. Yep. And that's what's cool about the people tuning into the show, because I hope they take something away from it. That's why I try to do the Q&As and try to help people on, not a lower level, but in a level that they can understand, because some of the stuff is like Chinese to them, like you just can't understand what is what, like, oh yeah, you do the car audio stuff, sure. But it's just like, it's a learning process, and to be able to teach people and to help people, and it's a job, but it looks like you're having fun, and to be able to do that and call that your career is really awesome, John. And
it really is. I'm so blessed with the company I work for, and what I get to do. I really never thought growing up where I did, putting in radios, that someday I'd be traveling the world doing it. You don't look that far ahead, and it just doesn't seem possible. But no. Thanks to Irby and Kicker, and not only do they make it possible, they made it my job. I have to do it, which is fine with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve Irby's a great guy to work for, is what I hear. Yeah.
None better.
25 wants us to make it rain. Let me show you. I think you know about this, John.
Make it rain.
Hit it, Michael.
Thank you, 25. I appreciate you, man. We had a little bit of rain earlier in the show, and AKA Rain, Raining Pennies, Super Chats, El Fuego donated a $5 Super Chat early on, and this guy is taking on just starting the train. Christopher Austin, thank you for subscribing, man. Getting the train going.
And everywhere.
Yes, we got a little bit. That's why I was like, man, to get 2 people on here, it was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but it's working, and StreamYard's cooperating. I know you guys have issues with StreamYard too.
El Fuego and Ashy and Baba, 25 Hertz Life, you guys are everywhere, and it's so nice to have that support from you guys.
They really are. These guys, all of them, could be doing something else on a Tuesday, Friday afternoon, evening, and they decide to tune into these shows, because if it wasn't for them watching, I don't think we'd turn the lights on anymore.
Yeah, we wouldn't have a show without you guys.
No, we'd just be on a Zoom call or Discord, and it's not the same. It's not the same. Let's do a few more questions, and then we'll wrap it up and do the giveaway stuff and go from there. So let's see what else we got here. Good question, Larry. Question: what size sealed enclosure would you use for a 10-inch L7X? So now that John's telling everybody you can run an L7X and sealed, it might not get as much performance, but you could do it. And I know Kicker's not going to have that on their website because it says ported 3 cubes. Here's the port. Have fun. So
I'd say easily, 1.5 to 1 3/4.
1.5 to 1 3. So 1.5 to 1.75 cubes.
I think that would sound great.
For the 10.
I haven't got to
makes
do
sense.
that yet, but I know, the 12s and 2 1/4 were phenomenal sounding. So,
Right.
10 obviously being just not quite, less than half the cone area. I think, 1.5 to 1 3/4 would sound great. Now, obviously, you go down to 1 inch or 1 1/4, but I'm about the sound, the deep, smooth, clean bass, but
Right.
Still tight.
That makes sense because like my Solo X12 box, it's 3 kind of ish cubes, but internally before the port, it's like only 2.24 cubes. And then like almost a whole cube of port, you know, so
One area.
that makes sense. That makes sense. The more you learn about box designing, more some things make sense, and then you just got more questions after that. So,
Oh yeah.
thank you, Roger. I see you on the top of the screen there for the $1 super chat. He's throwing out the dollars. I appreciate you, man. Where are my things? They're all over the place.
Because we don't want you to blow it up. So turn the gain down, Andy.
Thank you, Roger. I'm not used to using the StreamYard for the little things. I usually use the switcher, but it's all different. So, learning. Feel like a rookie out here right now. Thank you, Larry. And,
Larry.
I wonder if that's something that, I know they don't like to change things or tell people to put things in certain things because they want the consumer to get the most out of the product. And really, the L7X was designed to be, competitive compared to other products in its price range, RMS, and performance kind of capabilities. And those guys usually aren't putting them in sealed boxes. So I can see why they didn't even put that on there because people are going to try stuff. But it doesn't mean that you can't do it. And I trust John. His system in his Mustang with everything with 1,000,000 watts sounds awesome. Tight, accurate bass. And he's got those L7Qs. I'm sure he's waiting to replace those with the new ones coming down the road. Let's see. Roger with another... Man, this guy, first he was on, and then now he's donating here. Thank you, man.
Because we don't want you to blow it up. So turn the gain down, Andy.
And yeah, with all that power, you got to keep that gain relative. I was asking him about the KXA 2400 or something like that. I have it wired at half ohm, and I would notice that on certain songs it would kind of rear down on the power, and then it was like a bass drop, but it had like a beat to it, and the bass drop would like not hit very hard and then gradually hit harder, and then you turn it down and it was just a straight bass note. It's like, why is it changing that? But you guys put a lot of stuff into protective measurements of your amplifiers specifically.
Yeah, they don't just always shut off, go into straight protection. Sometimes they do something called railing back, which they'll actually decrease the voltage rails to prevent it from, producing too much power and damaging the internal workings of the amplifier.
I love that because it's like it might not be the best situation, but whenever you're learning about even your system, can I get away with wiring down? Can I get more power out of this? And don't have to worry about your amplifier going poof because the voltage rail's producing too much. It rails it down so that, or the current going through there doesn't skyrocket and melt your board. I love it, man. I always tell people, if you want to learn, if you can wire it half ohm with another amplifier, try it with a kicker. If the kicker acts up, don't do it with the other one because the other one's going to blow up.
Yeah, technically that amp's not rated for half an ohm, but
no, it's not. But you never really see that load per se.
And that's what people don't understand is the impedance curve. But but they call it nominal impedance. That means average impedance. So the impedance will never get lower than the DC resistance of the coil, but it'll get a lot higher.
Yes. Yeah. I've tested a lot, you know, at least with like just SPL, just 20, no drum kicks. Like I'm listening to DJ Rustical. It's just pretty much sideways with a couple drum kicks here and there at like 100 hertz, you know. And I've tested a lot of enclosures, and you really see like maybe say you start at 1 ohm, you go up to like 1.7, and that's about the lowest it'll go, and then it'll go way up from there to like 4, you know, 5x you're starting. So you can, but you might, like you said, with the high ohm speakers you had with a lot of control, the amplifier is going to have less control being down there, and your gain's going to have to be turned down because it's going to be super sensitive. Is that kind of true with all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I usually say, you know, when you come, damping factor is actually related to the impedance of the speaker. So, or however you got it wired, not the speaker so much as, you know, what the amp is wired to. So, you know, to go from a 4 ohm to a 2 ohm, you've cut your ohm load in half. You've doubled the power, but you've also cut the control in half.
Wow.
So they kind of work together. Yeah. So, you know, yes, you get more power by running to lower impedance, but you get less control over that power. So it's like the faster you go, the worse your tires and shocks get.
Yeah.
I've always tried to work again.
I've tried to explain it to people, like thinking of like running through, you know, like a pool or something. You know, you got 4 feet of water. You're not going to just trip over. You got a lot of water kind of holding you up. You got 2 feet of water. You can run a little bit faster, but you still got pretty good control. But then you run in like, you know, half foot of water. Do you ever see people just totally wipe out because, like, I don't know, it's just not enough, and they just kind of bail? You know, I feel like that's because there's not enough control of your body. There's nothing holding you there, no resistance.
In a weird kind of way, you're right.
Yeah, I love figuring out things like that. You know, it's like, I don't know, metaphors or hypergules. I don't even know what you call them, but, you know, something like that. All right, let's see. I called the Wambulance. RVH is up in here. Appreciate you. Uncle Bobby B. Oh, Uncle Bobby B. He's like, oh, wait, you guys can still do those?
Uncle Bobby B, baby. Uncle Bobby B.
Yeah, we can still do them. Appreciate you, Bobby. I know John appreciates you, too. Let's see. If you want to keep these guys busy, I'm going to do the giveaway stuff so we don't keep them here forever. And, yeah, just keep them busy, John, while I do the rigging. You know the thing.
Yeah, throw me to the wolves, will you?
Yeah, you got this, John. I appreciate you.
No, I kind of alluded earlier that we've got some really cool new stuff coming out. You know, obviously, you know, new products. We've got a couple new categories of things. So it's just guys, just stay tuned. We can't let the cat out of the bag just yet, but it's not far. And that's the toughest thing about being able to walk through R&D and actually sitting in on the design team meetings is to, you know what's coming down, you know, the road and not being able to say anything about it just yet. So, but
right, you know,
it'll happen.
I hear some things, and some things are hard, you know, especially with like the L7X. Like I remember Steve telling me, I think it was 2018. I was like, oh, that's cool, and I can't tell nothing to nobody, but you know, yeah, you guys be working on that stuff, and I know you guys were working on that way before that too.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time coming, as we know, and a lot longer than we planned on. But it's here now, and I think, you know, the proof is there that, you know, the engineering and the testing and the, you know, design of that really, it did what we thought it was going to do and what we designed it to do.
Right. And, you know, oh, what am I doing? Don't want to do that.
You're only doing it yourself because we can't see it.
You know, I don't know how Bill Frog does this and you guys every Tuesday. I try to keep a flow with going through it and talking to the guys, and it's like I can multitask in some ways, and other ways.
Remember, there's 3 guys back there usually. You got Bill, you got Jeremy, and you got Ernie.
Yeah,
so that's 3 against 1, so you're doing all right. Give yourself some credit.
I try. Thank you, John. I appreciate it, though. I do. And, you know, yeah, this is definitely going to be rigged tonight. Definitely. Sorry.
Stu's on the line. Hey, Stu.
Stu! Thank you for tuning in, Stu. So, Wait, what time are you flying out tomorrow to go to Tennessee?
That's not early. It's actually a mid-afternoon flight.
Well,
I haven't even
that's not
packed
too bad.
yet, so. In fact, I got laundry that I probably need to go attend to, getting ready to pack.
You know, those morning flights are tough, but they're not too bad because then you kind of want to sleep on the plane. The afternoon ones are kind of...
If you can. I don't sleep well on planes. But my problem is coming back from Nashville. They're an hour earlier than us, and I'm got to be at the airport at 4:30, which means that's 3:30 my time, which means I'm getting up from the hotel at 2:30. I might as well not go to bed.
Jeez.
All those time zone things that get you, traveling, with and against the time zones.
I know, it's like you gain an hour, lose an hour, and you get the whiplash a little bit, or jet lag, whatever you want to call it from that.
Hawaii, and you lose 5 hours.
Yeah, man, that's crazy, and it's just
Africa. I think it's 7.
Really? So you pretty much went every continent in the world because you do the all over the place training.
I have not done any Asian countries as of yet.
Still.
But, I mean, pretty much everywhere else.
Wow. It's a lot of travel. I'm sure Steve Irby's got a lot of what do they call that? Flying miles or whatever discounts.
Flyer miles.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Nice thing is he lets us keep those. We get to use those.
Really?
Personally. Yeah. So that's how good of a guy he is. Because a lot of companies you're required to use that on other trips, but Steve lets us use our frequent flyer miles for our own personal use.
Wow.
And I use them to take my family on vacations.
I was going to say, that's like free bonuses, just.
Yeah, it really is. That's just how super he is.
Wow. And he's got you flying. He's got, now Jacob, because he started that, and Aaron.
And Carlos.
And Carlos.
Yep.
I always forget Carlos. I love you, Carlos. I always forget him.
That's our department. Then you talked about, the guys in R&D that are going to China and Korea and Vietnam and Malaysia. I mean, all over them. And they're there, sometimes 3 to 5 times a year. So, I really hate to see what our airfare total bill is. Then you got the sales managers, Tracy, Lori, Matt, Brad. I mean, they're flying with all their dealers, every other week too. So our guys spend a lot of time in the air, a lot of times in big metal tubes.
I know. First time flying to Stillwater, I'm not going to lie, I was scared because the last time I flew, I was like 11. So, at that point in your life, you just want all the adrenaline. It's like, oh, we're not going to crash. We're not going to die. Everything will be fine. But this time, it's like kids, I think it was just me and Kayla, so it was kind of whatever. Second time was funner. The kids were on there, but still scary flying nonetheless. Because, we watched those, movies, the planes crashing, the landoliers are back, or what have you.
Air disasters. Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I wonder why I can't sleep at night. We just started some space show too. Now it looks great, but it's like, man.
One nice thing, if you think about it, if you're ever in, an accident in an aircraft, you're probably not going to get injured. You won't have to live with the pain for the rest of your life. It's pretty much going to be over with.
Right, yeah, vegetable, unfortunately.
I don't want to limp away from this. Hit it hard.
Yeah. I got one more winner to type in. I mean, honestly, I could just read these off, but I like, like how you guys do it. We use StreamYard for it, so you guys see your name. You can look at it and make sure it's you.
Just look at it.
Yeah, you just got to look at it. Thank you, John. I can't. Let's see. And then the 50% off discount code. That's the last one. And that's a good one. It's so crazy how you guys do that just for my show, because I know you guys don't do that on Unmasked. Just here that we give out a 50% off discount code. AnythingKicker.com.
Cool. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Let me tell you, they come in clutch, man. When you could buy 2 of these shirts for the price of 1, it's a no-brainer, man. This is better than going to Walmart and buying Nike, man. It's just like you'll be good. You'll be good. Let's see. Ooh. I don't even know if they have a last name like O'Connor, but it's not the name. But you have an O and then a dash and it's Connor. How do you put the last initial for that? How do you do that? Do you
don't ask me.
I'm just gonna put his last name. You know, we try to keep things.
Michael O. And we've got an O'Connor, our rep in Canada. Great guy, Mike O'Connor. Big Mikey.
Hey, you know, Brian was great, man. Rest in peace. Now that was probably one of my only idols as a kid. You know, it's like, oh man, I wanna race like Brian O'Connor, Fast and Furious. I'm sure you know. Let's see. I think I spelled that wrong, but you'll get the idea. There we go. All right, cool. So I will throw these up. Let's see if we got anything crazy.
See who wins.
I know. We will see who wins. Thank you for tuning in. Budget Audio with Jay. Awesome guy. He just started his YouTube career not too long ago. And good friend of mine. And it's crazy, like us YouTube content creators. Most of us are all like really good friends. You would think it would be kind of, you know, oh, we're all, you know, doing the same thing. I want all the credit. I want all the views, but it's not like that, which is, it's great, man. And plus these guys are just, they're normal Joes like me and you know, they really are. Let's see, Tahoe. Andy's live stream has come a long way.
Look at that.
Thank you, Ashy. Cornut donated well, every time it says cornerback, it's got to be Cornut. Thank you, Cornut. Appreciate.
He does traveling installs.
John's like, what am I watching?
That's funny.
You know, he's always stealing the caboose at the end of the show, and he's an awesome friend of mine, and he's a stand-up guy, he really is, man. And are you going to Slamology this year, John?
Yes,
I know.
I am.
Okay. Did you meet? You weren't there last year.
No, I wasn't. Not unfortunately. The year before.
This is going to be great because you're going to meet all the guys that hang out here at Slamology because they came out last year. They're coming out again.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it. It's nice to be able to put a face with a name on a screen.
Yes.
You got this face and then.
I can't. Hey, you got the face for radio and the voice for video too, man. You're good. You're good.
Definitely the face for radio.
All right, let's get these up here. Appreciate you all for tuning in, and let's get this going. Third place it's still the EB400s, correct? I know you guys switch it up once in a while. It's still the EB400s and the Kicker Unmasked swag pack kind of thing.
The third place is the Tumbler. Second place
is it the Tumbler? Then we got to switch that up. I thought it was the EB400s.
No,
I know you guys.
Second place, and then the BF100 is the first place.
So I got these all backwards then. I swear.
What are we going to do with you, Andy?
Oh man, I'm slacking.
You're fired.
I'm slacking. So the Tumbler, don't believe what this says, goes to Doug G in Wyoming. Plus, you'll get the email from Bill. It'll tell you exactly what you won. But third place, yes. Congratulations, Doug. Thank you for watching, and appreciate you. All right, John, you're going to read this one out. And this is the EB400s, correct, for second place?
Yes. And that's going to be Doug G.
I thought it was the TW2 headphones. I thought those are the ones you guys were giving out for that.
You know, they may have switched that up. I haven't done a lot of the shows lately, so.
Well, you're getting some kicker stuff, guys.
Yeah,
you're getting some.
Definitely going to get some.
It's all awesome.
Really Wyoming.
Go ahead, get it. Read it out, John.
All right, Deviant for life.
Would you look at that? And that's kind of how you know it's rigged, you know? I mean, goodness.
Where can you buy the TW2s right now? We're very out of stock on those.
Those
stashed a bunch for this show.
You know, it seemed like as soon as you had them, they were gone. You sent me the TW1s, and those are awesome. The TW2s, just a little bit different sound and noise cancellation. Plus, it's got the little plastic rubber earbuds that go in your ear.
Block some of the noise. So.
Yeah. And, you know, I really like those TW1s. I can hear a huge difference over, like, these little cheap $20 ones that I got from Sheets, and I put those in. I'm like, whoa, this guy actually sounds like that. You know, like a podcast I listen to at night only, and it's like, wow, I'm missing a lot. It's crazy.
Bottom, they're a bunch of Sheets. I mean, never mind.
Yeah. That's it. Congratulations, Deviant. Appreciate you. Love you, buddy. We got two more to go. First place The Bullfrog 100, I know that is still always the same. These things are awesome. I wish you guys would bring back the 200 or 400 or some kind of counterpart,
me
but
too.
this thing gets the job done. They sound great, and they fit in your cup holder, most cars. First,
throw them in the
yes.
lake.
It's a little tight fit, but it works. You know, some people, they don't want to replace their head unit. They just put that in there, and they're happy, and that's totally fine. John's like, no.
Hey, whatever floats your boat.
First place. It's rigged.
Cornut,
the caboose. Congratulations. You get a Bullfrog plus the Kicker swag pack. You guys give out cups, lanyards, stickers, and the t-shirt. You guys really get the hookup, man. It's awesome. It really is. Congratulations, man. And we got one more to go. The 50% off discount code.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching goes to, you can read this one out, John. Go ahead.
It's been James O'Brien from Madison, Wisconsin.
Congratulations, James. I don't want to put O, you know what I mean? So it's O'Brien. Congratulations, man. And thank you for watching.
Territory.
Yes. Man, you got anything you like to say to the people before you go? I know you're going to see them on a following next Tuesday or the Tuesday after that, because you're always on the Unmasked show.
I don't think it's next Tuesday. I think it's the one after, because I think the next one, Jacob and Aaron are doing it. So I believe I'm on the one after that. My travel schedule, I mean, I've already looked at it. 9 trips already scheduled through the rest of the year, and we just started scheduling. So,
Jeez. I know you guys got a plan for everything. You guys are very thorough, and you gotta be. There's a lot of moving parts there, so it makes sense.
Hit those moles when they come out of the hole as you can.
Yeah.
Whack-a-mole.
At least they're giving you a little break, driving down to Tennessee. Did you, wait, I can't remember. I know you told me before the show and stuff. Did you tell the guys why you're driving flying to Tennessee? Or we can't talk about that yet?
If you guys have seen the Gears TV show with Stacy David, he's been around for 18 years. We're going to go film a segment with him Thursday on basically, you know, how easy it is to put stereo in your hot rods.
That's awesome. You know, like I said earlier, I need to find every episode that you were on. I know there was probably some cringy ones because you've been doing this stuff for a long time. Being on TV, like actual TV, not YouTube TV.
Yeah, I actually started, I think it was 2003 with Courtney Hansen and Chip Foose on Overhauling was the first one that I ended up working on, and it's just snowballed from there.
That's awesome, man. It really is.
Her and I are still really good friends, so. And she's doing a show right now that we're actually sponsoring all the gear for, and it's called Ride of Your Life, and it's on Motor Trend. But when you see those builds, every one of those will have Kicker gear in them.
That's
We've done
awesome.
all 3 seasons that she's done.
When you say Motor Trend, that's like the Kicker magazine of just car magazines. Like I know that name. That's and Gears TV.
Channel 246 on Dish Network. I know that by heart.
You know, I remember Dish Network. Yeah. Now everything's all digital on Roku or Hulu or however have you.
I still do satellite.
Yeah. Well, John, if you want to stick around towards the caboose, you can. You're more than happy to. But we're going to wrap this up for everybody else so they can either hang out and see who takes the last caboose ticket or just get on with their evening. But I appreciate you for joining me tonight. And
It's my honor. And, you know, anytime you want to have some fun, I'm always in for it as long as I'm in town. I'm going to let you go do what you need to do. And I promised the wife a treat, so I probably better get her on the road here.
That's why you got to bring the treat before the show. Then you're good all night, you know.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And like I said, thanks for all the support from both, you know, the show and our show, Andy's show, and all the gear. We'll keep making it for you.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, John, and thank you, Kicker. Again, enjoy your evening, John. Thank you. We'll definitely do this again. I'm set up for it, and we can go full tilt boogie, one would say, and we'll have some fun.
I like it. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one. This was Kicking It with Andy with John Myers. We'll see you at the caboose or Friday. Make sure you tune in to Kicker on Tuesday. And as always, stay living loud. Oh, would you look at that? Cornut.
Uh-oh. loud. Hey yo, we kicking it with Andy at the house. He's coming to you live from the casting couch. He's a kicker freak. Hey yo, what you think? So grab a seat and get your favorite drink. Don't go nowhere, you'll be glad you waited. Andy content comes highly rated. He got more hits than a Brooklyn mobster, doing hair tricks in the Cookie Monster. Straight give you goosebumps like you ticklish. Hey yo, rest in peace to Chris the Fish. So get your popcorn, Andy's going live, but the show don't start till Deviant arrives. What?
John K rolled up to learn some sound effects. Met some good peeps, now chillin', relax. The after show is lit, yo, check the live chat. And in the clips, you wanna try that. Kicking it with Andy is such a dope show. He stays super positive and a super chill bro. Making us laugh with his McGill memes. Quality content in all of his streams. Why does Cookie Monster bang harder than a wall? Cause he runs a big brand and it started it all. Kick a bass so low that it's messing with your psyche. Y'all running sketcher while my homie running Nike. My homie running Nike. My homie running Nike. My homie running Nike.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, John.
Hey, Johnny, have a seat, relax.
Hey, yo, Johnny. Time for Deviant to rap. Input.
Check me out. Third verse like that, we say the best for last. Drop a super chat to get your questions asked. 5K subs, yo, he gon' hit. Got a L7X and a Recone Kit. Tuesday and Friday, yo, we on the set. Unless he get that Patreon check, go ahead, subscribe, and he's on the mic. If you gotta run by, please hit the like. Solo and Wiz got that fish tank filled, but is he ever gonna finish that Walmart build? Ain't got a witness, so we'll never know. That was 3 minutes, now enjoy the show. Let's go.
My homie running Nike.
Hey yo, Andy, love you, boy. Keep doing your thing, King. You got this.
My homie running Nike.
Thank you guys for being here, and John's going off to get the treats and stuff with the kids. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and Cornut coming in early. Baba gifting 10 memberships. What? This is supposed to be at the end.
This is what makes time travel possible. The flux capacitor.
Flux capacitor?
Thank you, Bubba. Appreciate you. Cornut coming in to secure his spot, and that is Rogers taking it. Love you guys. I will see you on the next one.